It felt terrible inside my body. My chest was really tight. My brain was starting to get kind of foggy. Instead of dealing with my heightened emotional state or recognizing it, I went out of the buffer zone, which was I took it out on someone else. We start to try to control the children. We can't control our spouse or our job or whatever is happening to us that we don't love. So let's turn and try to control something else because that feels better. We're going to talk today about how to process emotion. Okay. And I want to start this with who's really good at being angry? Can I get like a show of hands? Maybe throw in the chat like how amazing you are at being angry. And when we think like that's one that most everybody can like relate to, right? Is being angry. But when I talk about being angry, what comes to your mind? What do you see? What do you envision yourself doing when you're angry? Usually what I would see, okay, so somebody says I hold grudges, crying. Sometimes we go outward, we yell at other people. If I'm angry at you, heaven help me, right? Heaven help you. You might hear it from me. We might explode. We might have some words. We might have some stomping. If you're a child, we might see some stomping, withdrawing, out of control. You feel out of control. Good. Keep them coming. Oh, Norma gets bitchy. All right. Let's go. What else we got? Yeah, like when we're angry, that's what it looks like and it feels like, right? Okay. So, that's not actually experiencing your emotion though. That's not allowing the emotion. Okay? So just keep that in mind for just a minute, that visual of what it looks like to be angry. And I'm going to tell you an experience that I just had. And I'm also going to tell you I have thought and prepared on this for the last 5-6 days. And I literally don't even know what my outline is anymore. Okay. So whatever comes out of my mouth today is meant to be because I don't even know what my outline is supposed to be anymore. That's where we're at. So last week, well, I'm gonna back me up and I'm not gonna cry. Ooh, peeps, I'm not gonna cry today. Okay. And this one's going on the podcast, so I'll try to keep it off the podcast with me crying as well. So 2 weeks ago, oh, hi Josh. All right. So about 2 weeks ago, so I'd already beginning of the month had told my husband that I wanted to get divorced. Okay. About 2 weeks ago, I was starting to process needing to tell my children, which is a whole nother experience. And what this whole like adventure has shown me, taught me, is the full range of human emotions. The full range. And in one whole day, this gal right here, I can have all the range of emotions. I can wake up, I can be happy, I can feel amazing. By the afternoon, I might be frustrated. By the evening, I might be crying, or vice versa. Like it could happen in any order, but there's this full range of emotions that I will have sometimes in an entire day with the process that I've been going through. So a couple weeks ago, I had to tell my children. So there was a lot of felt a lot of anxiety. I could feel it in my body. I was very aware of what was going on inside my body. And when we have an emotion coming, dropping into our body to see what our body's doing is kind of one of our first steps, right? Even if it's anger, if you drop into your body and be like, what is my body doing? Are we gritting our teeth? What are we doing? Right? Usually there's something. Are we shrugging our shoulders? Are we like tightening our fists? There's usually some sort of physical response that we're having to this emotion that's starting to come over us. Okay. So we have the emotion that kind of comes in, then our physical body starts to usually have some sort of reaction to that. So I spent a few days in that. You actually caught me when we had our coaching call last time. It was the day before I told my children. And I don't know if you remember me saying I was kind of curled up in my hot tub that morning, crying, trying to like calm my nervous system, process myself a little bit. Okay. Okay. So our body. So we have like this thought, this emotion that starts to come. We have our physical reaction that happens in our body, right? That part we get. Like everybody knows what that feels like. We know we get to that point, right? Okay. But then what happens next is generally what we see is we're not really taught to like grab those emotions, bring them in for a party, really get to know them well, really absorb them and allow them to happen. We generally touch them. We know they're happening. We acknowledge it. We kind of like skim the surface, is what I realize, right? We're skimming the surface of our emotions or our feelings that we're having. And as we skim the surface, it's like it's kind of like this top of a stove, right? We don't touch the top of the stove for very long when we're a kid. Like we touch it and then pretty quick we find out it's hot and we pull back. Okay, that's what we tend to do with our emotions. We're like, I'm going to touch it. Ooh, and it's going to feel too hot. And then I'm going to pull back because I don't like the way that it feels. Well, with our emotions, we do the same thing. We're like, oh, like for me, this anxiety for having to talk to my children, right? It felt terrible inside my body, like that my chest was really tight. My brain was starting to get kind of foggy. And I could have just been like, oh my gosh, I'm just not going to deal with it. Let me go Netflix myself or buffer with something, right? We want to go outside of that emotion. So I'm going to just draw in case you haven't seen this before. We have our life. Our life is 50-50. 50% of the time we have positive emotion. 50% of the time it's negative emotion. Now, when we're just barely touching the negative emotion, as we tend to do the stove, right? We just barely touch the negative emotion and then we pull back. That pulling back looks like going out here into what's called the buffer zone. So now we're going out into the buffer zone because this feels terrible, doesn't it? I mean, it did not feel good. And there's other things I've had to deal with in my life, of course, but this was a very intense lesson for me. Very intense, which is starting to apply to so many different areas of my life. That's why I'm bringing this up and sharing this with you as well. We don't love to feel the negative emotion. We touch it, we move away from it, we go into buffer. Everybody buffers differently, right? Everybody buffers differently. Somebody just asked 50-50. What is 50-50? Half of our life is filled with positive emotions, positive experiences, happiness, right? The other half, it's negative. It's negative emotion. We can't know what positive feels like if we don't know what negative feels like. So don't tell me life's supposed to be happy all the time because it's not. It's not meant to. Otherwise, we wouldn't have that appreciation for the positive. We would know no different, right? We start to learn these things in these lessons. Okay, so in the buffer zone, what do we do when we buffer? We avoid, so over drink, overeat, over Netflix. What else do we do when we move into the buffer zone? We're doing anything that we can to feel better is what's happening. We're pretending. We're pretending. We overwork, right? We'll jump in. That was actually one of my first reactions too. I'll just overwork. I'll just get back to overworking. I'm really good at that. That's going to feel so much better and so much more rewarding. What we're doing with any of these overings is we're trying to not feel our emotions. We're trying to feel something that feels better. Because for heck's sakes, this feels terrible. It doesn't feel good, right? Does not feel good. So let's go do something else. It's going to feel so much better. We're going to fight it. We're going to pretend like it's not happening. Some people just get completely pretend like it's not even there, right? Delusional. That's avoiding. Sometimes we become over emotional. We go into that space. We're going to be over emotional. Maybe we're going to be over emotional about other things. You're going to come at me. There definitely was one day somebody came at me with something and I came right back at him. Oh, heck, man. Like you did not want to be that person on that day. I had to apologize later. And I was like, oh, I had a heightened emotional state. And instead of dealing with my heightened emotional state or recognizing it, I went out of the buffer zone, which was I took it out on someone else. right? That was kind of Norma's being bitchy. Like, we're going to go and it's going to be somebody else's problem. Why don't we now start telling everybody else how they don't know how to do their job? Because that's going to feel better to point fingers at other people than us sitting in our emotion. You guys get what I'm saying. I don't know that I need to belabor what we're saying, right? Okay. So, emotional strength is not, this is what emotional strength is not. It is not getting good at pretending. It is not getting good at pretending. That is not strength. That moves into the buffer zone. Not grinding through, not running away. That is not emotional strength. Not obsessively trying to control our circumstances. That's an easy place to go to, right? It doesn't feel good. So let's try to control our circumstances, or at least the things that we can control. And then a lot of times, I see this with parents, we start to try to control the children, right? We can't control our spouse or our job or whatever is happening to us that we don't love. So let's turn and try to control something else because that feels better. And all that's going to do is hurt that relationship. That's a very common one. Very common one. Emotional strength is not being cold or numb or indifferent. We don't have to pretend like life is not happening in order for us to be okay. We don't have to be like, everything's fine, everything's going to be okay. But what if it doesn't feel okay? And what we're going to work through today is what happens when it doesn't feel okay, and how do we lean into that? How do we actually experience it not feeling okay? And there's some skills that I've learned and experienced and kind of developed that I'm going to share with you on how to do that as well. Emotional strength is also not becoming a good fighter of your emotions. We don't want to just keep pushing it down. We don't want to push it down at all. Becoming more emotionally balanced and regulated actually looks like, okay, emotion, what do you have for me today? Oh, we have some sadness today? Okay, let's take the sadness. What does the sadness feel like? Let me experience some sadness, right? What does it feel like in my body? Why am I sad? Of course I'm sad, right? What does that feel like, letting that move through you in order to experience it instead of going, oh, I'm not supposed to be sad, or it's not that big of a deal. Let's just push that off. That buildup is that you build that up long enough, people, you are going to freaking explode. Explode. And it is not a fun way to be or to live. Okay. It's not becoming over emotional, which generally either comes out on other people or sometimes just ourselves. And we become a hot mess. And then usually we drive people away. They don't want to be around us because we're an over emotional disaster. Right. And it also is not just trying to manipulate your thoughts, trying to tell yourself, I should just think something different. It should just be fine. Like, what if it's not fine? What if it's not? Then what? Usually if it's not fine, if we get to our spot where we're like, it's actually not fine, how does that feel? Usually pretty terrible, doesn't it? If we're like, no, really, this is not fine. But we can't control it. We can't control other people. So when we say it's not fine, we feel very insecure. It feels very uncomfortable. And when we feel very uncomfortable, we don't want to sit in that very long. Right? It doesn't feel good. The first thing is we have to understand what our emotion is, where it comes from. Something happens. We're going to have a thought about that. That thought's going to create a feeling. Right? Sometimes that thought happens so fast, you guys, we go straight to emotion. Sometimes our emotions hit us so much faster than our thoughts can even keep up with. And that's okay. Right? So even now, like sometimes I got emotions that come at me and I'm like, whoa, I don't think I thought anything. I was just going about my day and I have some emotion that starts to come at me. When you're experiencing things that are heavy, especially when they're heavy, right? You're going to have extra layers of emotions that are going to come at you. And sometimes you don't really know why they're coming. So I've had a few of you reach out where we've got stuff going on with spouses, with children, with parents. Like we've all got something The reason why we're having this conversation is because if we aren't emotionally regulated, if I was to stay in the same state that I've been in the last few weeks, I would not be able to show up very well for you, for my job, right? And then everything's going to go to heck in a handbasket. I won't want to get out and sell. I would want to stay home more often. You fall into depression, which I could easily do. So if we go down that hole, like if we are not emotionally regulated, it affects our business. So often agents come to me and they're like, teach me how to sell houses. And I'm like, great. And then we're going to have this coaching conversation about emotional regulation. And somebody's going to roll their eyes at me like this isn't a topic of importance because I'm not teaching you where to get good leads. It's like, if we are not emotionally regulated, you try to put a high demand on yourself and you are going to fall apart. You are not going to be able to perform the way you need to perform. And then we just get to defeat because then you're like, man, I'm supposed to be able to perform. And why am I not doing my job? And the leads just don't work. And then again, we're into the buffer zone. We're going outward and it's everybody else's fault and everything else's fault. But we never stop to go, wow, am I emotionally regulated? Am I built right now and performing in a way that I can be able to uphold all the duties and things I'm supposed to be doing in my job? Am I truly? So that's a really great question for you to ask yourself right now. Where are you at your level? Is there some processing, some care that you need to give to yourself in order for you to be able to show up as the best you? And as you learn this process and you do this more often, you become so good at it, then the things that you're doing every day, not just with family, but let's say you go out and you have a listing presentation and it doesn't go so well, there's some sadness or some disappointment or some embarrassment that comes along with that. Bring it on, man. Give me all the sadness and disappointment and embarrassment because guess what? We know how to process that. Right? And we process it faster. So we're not going to sit in it and be sad and disappointed for 2 weeks, which is lost sales. You follow? Yeah. Let's be sad and disappointed. What does that feel like? What does that process look like? And then we move through it. Okay. So after I told my children, after I told my children about the divorce, there was like this weird lifting of stress that came off of me, but then there was a whole nother like layer of kind of responsibility and kind of sadness and holding space for my children that came onto me. So it was just kind of another phase, I guess I would say, of the process. And and as that started to feel very intense for me, and remember at this point, like I'm aware of my emotions. I'm trying to regulate my nervous system, but I'm not yet fully processing my emotions. Okay. So I'm kind of doing what everybody else is doing here. Like I'm touching them. I'm kind of got my hand on the burner a little bit longer because I'm a coach. So I have got a little bit, I know, right? But still, I'm still pulling my hand off because I don't really know how to keep it on there. I don't know how to let that move all the way through me. So I had a really tough day just a couple weeks ago. And I felt my body. Okay. So my body felt so overwhelmingly like buried. I don't know if you've ever felt like that before, but it was like I was literally curled up in a ball on my trampoline in the backyard because that was like nobody was around me. And I was sobbing. Okay. Sobbing. And it was heavy. It was all just heavy. And the space I had to hold for myself and the space I was holding for my kids and just the process, it was just all a lot. It was so much. Okay. So much that I got online and I bought a one-way ticket, a one-way plane ticket out of my country. Okay. You know your coach, right? Like here I am. Okay. So I bought myself a one-way ticket. And then it felt good for a minute. But what was I doing? I was totally buffering, right? But at the moment, I was like, I just need out. I can't handle anymore. I just need out. So I buy this one-way ticket on a Sunday. Okay. All right. Here we go with the crying. Sorry. Yeah. So I was escaping. So a one-way ticket. So the next day I'm like, game on. All right. Now I'm excited. I'm gonna go shopping. So I went shopping. I bought a week's worth of new clothes. I dropped like over $1,000 at the mall. It was a great day. So much fun. Now my emotions are high again, right? I'm feeling so good, right? Buffering with some shopping, doing some things to try to fill my bucket. Bought a new freaking suitcase to put all the new clothes in. Like I was so on point and ready for this flight, which was coming on Thursday. So Thursday morning comes and I wake up and it's 3:00 in the morning. It's freaking early flight, by the way. 3:00 in the morning, I wake up and I sit on the side of my bed and my daughter's gone. So nobody else is going to be in the house but me and my husband, which we totally are getting along, by the way. So don't have like weird things about that. This is a great thing. We're totally getting along. There's nothing weird, but I'm in a separate room right now. So anyway, TMI. So I sit up on the side of the bed and I was like, had this feeling, Lisa, you're not getting on your plane. And I was like, who doesn't get on their plane? Oh, did I tell you it was a one-way ticket? I bought a one-way ticket, by the way. I didn't know what day I was coming back. Okay. So there was some joy to that as well, I think. Anyway, Lisa, you're not getting on your plane. And I was like sitting there, I was 3:00 in the morning. I was like, but my bag is packed. Everything's in the car. I'm literally like slept in my clothes so I could get on the plane. I'm going to the airport. What else am I supposed to do? My child's gone. My husband's here. I don't want to be home. I need out. I'm going to get on the plane. So I get in my car. Here's what was, just pay really close attention to some details here. Okay. Details. So important. So this is so vulnerable for me to share with you guys. Okay. So I get in my car. I'm driving to the airport in complete silence. Now, if you know me, I don't do silence. I do music. I do something. I do a podcast. I don't do silence. So completely silent, driving to the airport, no music, no nothing. And my brain has this time and space to think. And as I give it that time and space, and it took about, I would say about 10, 15 minutes. It's a 45-minute drive to the airport. And about 15 minutes in, my brain starts to go, why are you going to the airport? Why are you going to where you're going? Like, why did you book this ticket? And then I'm starting to answer myself. I don't know, Lisa. Why? Why am I doing this? Right? Okay. I'm going to read you something just a minute. And I spent 45 minutes having this like conversation in my brain. And I was like, am I really not supposed to get on the plane? Or am I just trying to talk myself out of it? Am I just psyching myself out? Or am I really not? And as I'm driving, this might just be better because this is a little bit more raw. Hold on. Okay. You guys ready for this? You ready for some raw? Okay, you're getting the raw. All right. I wrote this just a few hours after this happened. Okay. So literally, this is me on the way to the airport, right? So the first thing I was questioning me, right? And I'm like, no, actually, no, let me back up for just a second. There was another piece to this puzzle that I didn't tell you guys. So where I was going, I was preparing to go teach people. So I had prepared a second bag. Okay. This second bag was full. So I had my large luggage and then I had a carry-on bag. Now this carry-on bag was freaking like 50 pounds. It was the heaviest. It was full of all these books. I had video books. I had regular books. I had so much stuff in this carry-on bag. And so as I'm driving, I prepared all these things that I thought would be helpful for other people. Okay. Remember this. So I'm just going to read you out of my journal. Just hang with me for a second. So I pack the bag. I prepare all the things that I would need that I think would be helpful for these people, right? Things that no one asked for, by the way. Do they even need them? It's just an idea that I had. I think it's a good idea, but inevitably it remains my idea. Here's all these things that I have in this bag. And I'm like, so then I'm like excited because I have all these great things. And then I added even more things to the bag, by the way. So it was almost too heavy to bear. Like it was the heaviest carry-on bag. So then I'm starting to wonder, how am I going to navigate carrying this bag through the airport? Hey, this is all happening while I'm driving to the airport, by the way. How am I going to navigate carrying this bag through the airport? And I'm trying to get a visual at the moment of me walking through security with two bags, right? I guess I was jumping one off, but still with this bag. How am I going to navigate carrying this bag? And yet there's like excitement surrounding all the things that were in this bag, because whether I know it yet or not, deep inside, I'm hoping for the approval and acceptance and ultimately the love of those that I'm coming bearing gifts to. So I filled this bag full of stuff for people who never asked for it. And I was excited, but why was I excited? Right? I was excited because I was looking to fill me. Right? It wasn't about them. It was all about me. But this bag is so heavy, you guys. So then the first trigger happens for me. So with my bags packed in the car and I was ready to go, this is in the morning, I got that first questioning. And unknowingly, because I was seeking for approval, that questioning of myself started already to mean to me like that I wasn't enough, that there was something wrong. Because I'd prepared, I was excited, right? Like I had a plan, but then there was a question. And then I went inward, like there's something wrong with me. What I'd prepared was not important enough. Like I needed it to be enough. Deep within me, I needed it to be enough. Why? Like I was so empty that I was looking for something to fulfill me, is really what was happening. That overwhelm, that too much, that breakdown that I had, that running away, that need to buffer, right? I was just buffering in a different way, which was trying to have somebody else help me feel better because I wasn't helping myself to feel better. But it wasn't meant to be. And it wasn't meant to be enough, and it'll never be enough. So completely silent drive. As I drive to the airport, I get deeper rooted, very palpable visual of concern of how I'm going to get this heavy suitcase through the airport and then into the overhead compartment. Literally this visual of trying to lift this like freaking 50-pound carry-on bag. And is it going to be too big to even fit? And then what's going to happen if it doesn't fit? And where am I going to put it? And that's going to be really awkward. And I have 2 plane changes. Like, what if, right? Can I gate check it? What am I going to do all the way to the airport? Am I going to get yelled at because it's too heavy? That's happened before. Will I have to unload something? I have 10 hours of flights lugging and carrying this bag to end up in a foreign country with people who really didn't care that I brought all of this heavy stuff with me. They never asked for it. They weren't aware it was even coming. And all the pain that I experienced to get it there was a burden that I carried. Okay, I'm going to stop for like a hot second. How often, there's like so many things here, okay? How often do we carry things that aren't ours to carry? How often? So often that no one asked us to carry. That is one huge thing that I started to realize, that this like symbolic freaking bag, you guys, this bag, this experience just taught me is, are we carrying something that wasn't even ours to carry? They didn't even ask us to carry it. It wasn't for us. Right. And this is such a like giant dramatic example of carrying that across the country through 10 hours of flights when nobody really cared or knew what I was doing. I was carrying that burden. Nobody asked me to hold that. Right. So then I had to ask myself again, I'm still in the car, guys. This is still my drive in the car. What am I going for? Why am I going? And if they didn't care about the bag, like, and I thought, okay, Lisa, If it wasn't about work, then I could just go for myself. Like, who doesn't want to go take a vacation? I needed a break. Why not just take a vacation? And then I thought about that. I'm like, okay, how does that feel? Completely empty. Completely empty. I'm like, okay, why does that feel empty? I'm like, well, number one, that was my answer. Lisa, you're not getting on the plane, right? The reason I was going was to feel better. That's when I realized the reason I was going was to feel better, but not to make myself feel better from a place of power. I was wanting other people to make me feel better. I wasn't going from my like coaching best self where I wanted to pack all these things and go serve. I was packing all these things to go serve, to try to feel better, to have someone else make me feel better about myself. I was seeking those feelings and emotions that I've been craving, which makes sense, by the way. Does there have to be judgment around it? No, like zero judgment surrounding it. Of course, I'm going to feel that way. Like, of course, I'm going to feel that way. It makes perfect sense, right? Right. Here's the thing. If I didn't stop and give myself space and time and quiet to even hear that, to be able to understand it and know that's what I was looking for, I would have stayed in the buffer zone. I would have run away because I've wanted to run away for a little while, right? Because every time it feels overwhelming and too hard, I want to run away. It's a completely natural reaction, by the way. Like we are built that when it gets uncomfortable and hard and our body goes, Lisa, there's danger, get into a place where there's not danger. Then we go, great, where is there not danger? And I'm going to go to this place where there's not danger, where it feels better. So in doing this, I had to process through like, wait a minute. Okay, here's the danger, right? And let's experience it. Let's, number one, find out where it's actually coming from. Now, when I took away, I'm going to read you this other part here, but when I took that away, when I took away the part of seeing myself standing, when I took away why I thought I was going, okay, and then when I also took away, like I could just go for vacation, what I was left with was myself standing by myself at a freaking airport in a foreign country with two very heavy suitcases, and nobody cared about me. And I was like, well, I can do that in Boise, right? Like I can do that in Boise. So I literally drove, and me and my stubborn self drove all the way to departures just to make sure I was really, really not going. Just really, really had to make sure. Went to departures, drove past departures, drove to downtown Boise, and I went and checked myself into a hotel room at 4:00 in the morning. And I was like, okay, here we go. Right? I have no idea what's going on. That was the craziest thing I've ever done. And I'll figure it out in the morning. And I went to sleep. So when I woke up, what I had done was the same thing that I did on the way to the airport, which was I left my phone. I gave myself quiet space, no music, no influence. Here's what I realized. Okay. And I've been doing this now. Here's what I realized. In order to really feel our true emotions and to like, to give our brain, it's not just feeling the emotions, it's what you just witnessed was giving my brain space and time to answer its own questions, to think through and be able to come up with answers. Well, what happens is, and what I've always done is I'll go for a walk because it's good for me, right? I can process on a walk. Maybe I talk to a friend. Well, maybe I listen to some music. Maybe I listen to a podcast. Anything that you listen to without having just complete silence is still influencing what you think. It's still influencing what you think. So even if it's a podcast and it's positive and it's great information, it's still giving you some sort of guidance, right? You're not really allowing yourself all the space that you need to be able to think through what it is that you have going on and start to answer your own questions. Does that make sense? Okay. So on a very even more simple, um, like in a very more simple example is this last week, I was like, okay, it's going to be my birthday. I don't want to be sad on my birthday. What am I going to do for my birthday? Right. And I'll probably be divorced by then. So, okay, divorce and birthday. Here we go. Okay. And I want to show you, for those of you that are not on podcast, I actually made a note of this. So, what happened was I was like, okay, here we go, Lisa. I'm excited. What do I want to do for my birthday? And I was like, I'm going to go to Disney World. I'm going to go to Disney World. It'll be like a celebration of divorce and birthday all at the same time. I'm going to go to Disney World. Sounds great. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Disney World. Do I want to go by myself? Not really. So I asked a friend. It got a little weird. And I was like, okay. So I got a little anxious. So this is my first emotion. Well, my first emotion was excited, right? This just shows you the range, by the way. But yeah, Mari, I will. So my first emotion was excited. I was like, okay, I'm excited. This is what I want to do. Then I talked to a friend. It didn't go so well. And then I started getting anxious. And I was like, okay, now I'm anxious. I'm not going to talk about it for a minute. I'm anxious. Then I messaged my sister who lives in Houston. She went with me last time. We just went together and we had a ball. And I was like, maybe she wants to go with me. So then I messaged her and I said, hey, do you want to do a redo? And do you want to go on my birthday? So I kind of got excited for a second again. And then she was like, oh, I can't. My daughter has a dance competition. And I was like, boo. Well, first, actually, I went to mad. I was like, I didn't say this out loud, by the way, but why can't you just skip your daughter's freaking dance competition? Like, come hang out with your sister, right? Okay, so I went to mad. Then I was a little mad. Then I decided to go for a walk. Okay. And I left my phone and I left my music and I went with my brain. And I went for a walk for about 45 minutes. And on my walk, this is when I realized this. I watched my experience of how I was like, what my emotions were doing, right? That I went from excited to anxious to sad to mad. And then while I was on my walk, then I went to sad. And I was like, then I was sad that my sister couldn't come. And then it was weird with the other person. Like, okay. So then I was sad. Then I was sad because, and literally it takes about 10, 15 minutes into quiet, into like having nothing, where you kind of get everything else that's out of your brain for maybe what's going on with work or family or whatever. And then you get into this silent part where all of a sudden your brain has this like space and it just starts to think about whatever. And then you can start to like actually hear what you've been doing. I don't know. I know it sounds really weird. I want you all to try it. Okay. Unplug at least 30 minutes. Go for a walk. Just let your brain be there. No, nothing to influence you at all. And see what your brain comes up with. It is phenomenal. Your brain is amazing. And between Instagram and email and phone calls and people and music and podcasts and everything else that's coming at us, we are not giving ourselves space to even think or experience our emotions, because we very quickly move on to the next thing and we cover it up. And we may not be doing it on purpose. I was never doing it on purpose. I had never yet experienced this before. And I'm like, holy crap. What a life changer. What a life changer. So after I went to sad, few little tears, right? Then I started to give myself space to be like, okay, Lisa, but what if I just went by myself? How could I make that fun? My brain is offering me this thought, by the way. Like, if you were to go alone, if this was a thing for you, you're going to be single. Okay. What would you do? How could you make it fun? Instead of, I had like two visuals, myself moping my way through Disney World and being a baby, or How could I make it fun? Is there even any possibility that a single person could go to Disney World and actually come out enjoying themselves? Is that a possibility? I don't know, never done it. So I started to explore that. So I'm giving myself time and space to explore that. And then I got back to excited again. Weirdest journey ever. And this was all within like an hour and a half. Okay. Now, here's what I want to show you. Okay. Get that messy out of here. If I had stopped at even anxious, okay, let's say I stopped here with the first person I talked to. If I stopped at anxious, what would have happened is I would have had a conversation with the person that was creating my anxiousness. That person said something to me, and I started to get anxious. I could have easily turned and gone outward with my emotions, right? That's what we do. We stop here and we go, you made me feel this way. What you said made me feel this way, right? Is anybody else? Totally our human behavior. We're like, oh, you made me mad, or you said this, and now I feel like this. We don't ever even give ourselves time to process. Or let's say I didn't do that and I got to this mad part with my sister. And I could have been like, dude, sis, take a freaking day off of your kids' stuff and come hang out with me. You deserve it. I could have all my opinions about why she should take a day off, and I could go outward with her, which then starts to create some contention, right? And then creates more drama. When I'm just trying to look at her to what? Fix my emotions because I'm mad? Yes. That's what happens, right? Or even if I just got past the mad, but I got to sad, and then I tried to put that on her. But it's making me sad. I could have brought sad back to both of these. But what you're choosing to do is making me sad. Bullshit. What anyone else does is not making us do anything. This was my range of emotions. This is what I chose to feel based on what I thought about what was going on. It's not anyone else's responsibility. It is my own, right? Our emotional regulation and balance comes when we can get good at starting to give ourselves space to identify what are we even experiencing instead of being in reaction mode. Where this happens, I'm going to react, which I maybe did. I got excited. I went out. Let's ask for people to come with me, right? Okay, we follow. Does this all make sense? Okay, so what we have happen inside our bodies is when we try to avoid feeling deeply, okay? We don't want to feel the deep emotions. When the title of this class was like suffering less, right? Feeling harder, suffering less. And that was a concept that I was given a little over a year ago by Brooke Castillo, amazing coach. And I didn't quite get it. I didn't fully understand until I've had this experience. I did not fully understand what it actually meant to suffer through our emotions. When we're suffering, what happens is we're having those emotions, and when we try to push them down, buffer them, do all those things we talk about, numbing them, trying to control our circumstances, going outward with them, all those things, it doesn't take away all of this. None of this goes away. So now we still have this, and because we're trying to not feel these things, right? We're trying to do other things to buffer or be around them or to be outside of them. We start to feel resistance in our body. And our body does not love that. It's very uncomfortable, which I believe is what was happening to me when I was curled up on my trampoline. I was feeling very heavy because I was not allowing the emotions of what was going on to actually, I wasn't identifying and being able to allow them to kind of move through my body. Now, one of the best visuals a friend gave me was, and this was actually really helpful, was like, if your emotions were to kind of come down, say from the top down, right? And you have an emotion that comes into your body. So say we take this anxiousness and it comes into my body, to allow it to kind of feel it and let it go down, almost like a filter. Like your body was kind of full of sand, is the way she explained it. And that anxiousness is just going to come down and kind of filter through it. It doesn't need to get stuck. It doesn't need to stay there. You're going to feel it and it's going to go through. That was a really great visual to kind of help with like taking that, but not resisting it. Because we resist it because it doesn't feel good. And for good reason. Of course, it doesn't feel good. I'm not saying all these things are supposed to feel good, right? They're not. They're not supposed to feel good. They don't. Does anybody have any comments? Please put them in the chat. Please, please, please. So, just as much sometimes as we have a hard time with our negative emotion, which I'm talking about, sometimes we also have a hard time with our positive emotion. So, allowing other people to love us and feel that love and feel it deeply, we also can push that away, especially if we've been in a position where we've been hurt. Right? So we can have somebody that comes to us and they're trying to show us love, and we're like, barrier, no way, not coming all the way in. You can't show me all the love. It's not safe. We want to feel safe, right? So if we have, yes, it is easier to give than to receive. And so being open and loving and open to receiving those emotions too. When someone's proud of you, feeling the abundance of a situation and receiving that and receive that deeply. So we're not just feeling deeply our negative emotions, you guys. We want to feel more deeply our positive emotions too. And really, when we can get in and do that, we really can have this broad spectrum of our human experience that we're having. We feel deeper. We feel harder. We love harder, right? We can then also understand and feel deeper and harder for other people. It starts to change like your makeup. You can also start to feel deeper and harder for your children. And here's the other thing of it. It starts to remove that piece where we feel like we need to take away the suffering from other people. My children are all going to be suffering, or they don't have to suffer, but they're all going to be experiencing our divorce in different ways, right? Being able to allow that, allow them to be able to experience that, but not feel like I have to take it away from them. It's their experience. They have to experience those emotions. It's very important for them to experience them, just like it is for you, right? I don't want to buffer that for my children, because if I buffer for my children, then they learn how to buffer. They learn how to not feel, right? And so often too, you guys, if we feel like more confident, more loved, like more open, one of the reasons why we tend to push some of this stuff away is too that if we get too far outside of our box, too far outside the cave, right? We always talk about the cave. It's safe in the cave. It's primitive, but it's safe in the cave. And if we go outside the cave, something bad might happen. And so we stay in the cave. So even in our business, we do this. We're going to go out like this much. We're going to just a little bit, we're going to tiptoe out. But if something bad happens or we're rejected or there's a negative emotion that happens, what do? Right back in. Let's just get on social and send emails. We don't want to talk to people because somebody might reject us, right? So we're not going to go out very far anymore. But if we keep doing that, we get stuck in the cave. So business, personal, it's all intertwined. This is a skill that we all need to learn. How are we doing on time? Oh, it's been an hour. Heaven help me. Okay. So my hope for you in sharing this experience with you is that number one, it helps you to understand this process a little bit more and maybe have it more palpable for you. Did I accomplish that? Maybe throw in the chat. Okay, like could you feel that? Craziest, weirdest experience ever. Just saying it was the weirdest out of like almost like out of body experience for me. I spent 2 days at the hotel. I will tell you one more thing. The second day I was at the hotel, I did the same thing. I left my phone at home. I got up, I went for a 3-mile walk, and I gave my brain time to process. And my next layer, like I knew that I was trying to be fulfilled, right? First day, I understand I'm trying to be fulfilled. Okay. Second day, I'm like, I wonder what's going on up in here. So I go for my walk. And my second day, I was like, where does my power come from? If I'm feeling not fulfilled and I'm feeling powerless, where do I find my power? And if it's not from other people, and if it's not from my spouse, and it's not from my children, where does my power come from? And then I gave myself space to start to explore that. Okay, next layer, right? Every day, every day. And I will tell you, leaving my phone in my car or at my house, wherever I'm at, and going for a walk without it, it's like I'm like an addict. I'm like, I can't leave my phone behind. I have to have it with me. It's a terrible addiction. Terrible. I literally like when I got in on Tuesday to go for my morning walk, I was out at a funeral in a different city. And I literally like put my phone in my car and it took me like probably 2 minutes where I was like, do I leave it? Do I take it? Do I leave it? Do I take it? Do I need quiet time? Do I not? Like I had to have this conversation with myself. And then I was like, no, Lisa, like leave the phone. This is what you're doing now. You're doing your walks without your phone. So leave your freaking phone. And I had to leave it. But it was that difficult for me. So just know you're going to have some resistance when you're going to change patterns and habits. You're going to feel that resistance. And I'm a freaking coach. I know all the mindset. Like I know what I'm doing. Like I'm hearing myself. I'm on to myself, by the way. I am on to myself. Get on to yourself too. Get on to yourself too. The second day that I was at that hotel after I didn't get on my flight, I was on a call with somebody and I got a phone call from my daughter and she'd been in a car accident. And I was like, okay, I'm coming. I was like, you want me to come? She's like, yes. She had panic mode. She FaceTimed me. The car was totally smashed up. She was okay. But I was like, okay, like I'm on my way. Got off my call, threw everything in my bags, like went and got my car. Like I drove freaking 95 miles an hour, I think, to go get her. Um, but the there was so many lessons that I learned. I was like, did I not get on my plane because my daughter was getting in an accident? I'm like, or did I not get on a plane so I could learn all this other stuff? I don't know. And maybe it's just both. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just both. I just know I wasn't supposed to. Yeah, I know I wasn't supposed to. Now, somebody said put do not disturb on your phone. Don't take your phone with you. Detach. You will look at it. We are all addicted. Do not take it with you. So your challenge is 30 minutes. 30 minutes. I would love to see 45. 30 minutes because when I did this again yesterday, I've been doing it every day. And I paid very close attention yesterday. It took me a good 3/4 of a mile before my brain had worked out all the other garbage that was in my head, all the superficial stuff, maybe the emails that I knew that had come in or things I had to worry about or stuff on the schedule or what was going on for the day. All of that had to get worked out of my head first. Then once that was worked out, then my brain dropped into being able to think. That's what happened yesterday. So I'm like, okay, so it takes a good 15 minutes to sift out what's going on to then get to the root and allow yourself that space and time to think. So I'm going to challenge all of you, daily, 30 minutes, no phone, no nothing, no music. Give yourself time and then just be aware. Come back, do some journaling. Just be aware. What is even going on for you? I had no idea, you guys, until I went for my walk. I had no idea that I had just gone through excited, anxious, mad, sad, and excited again. No idea. But once I knew that and I came out the other side of it, I experienced it. I understood why. It made total sense. By the time I was done with my walk, I was over it. That was it. I didn't need to go have a conversation with my sister anymore. Okay. Awesome. You guys are amazing. And I missed you all so much. So thank you for coming today. I know if you are in the academy, we have an amazing call this afternoon about how to make $200,000 in 2 months. Because guess what happened when I gave my brain space and time? My brain went, why not make some freaking money, Lisa? How am I going to do that? And then I gave myself space and time to be like, how am I going to make $200,000 in 2 months? Because Lisa wants to travel. Lisa wants to do some things, right? So I gave myself space and time to think of that. So that's what we're going to be talking about in a few hours today. So I'm excited to see you all, you guys. I love you. Thank you for being here. And yes, I will see you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Welcome. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
What'd you say, Lakeisha?
That the next program, is that at 12 or 2?
It is the 2 o'clock Mountain Time.
2 o'clock. So that's 4 o'clock. Okay.
Yep,
Thank you.
4 o'clock Eastern. Yep.
Yeah, I have to do the math.
I got your back. I got your back.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys. Love you.